So, welcome to podcast number 4. Elissa and Marissa, as usually, let me start that over again. Woo! All right.
Already getting off to a great start.
Yeah. All right. So, welcome to the Happily Ever After Cold Case Podcast. We're your hosts, Elissa and Marissa, distant cousins who take on distant cases. Come with us as we explore the crimes of legendary tales of the past. We are fourth cousins, but in the world of Jews, that could mean double second cousins too. Anyway, we take all cold cases, even the really old ones, seriously. So, no stone unturned. Now, that being said, we're not comedians, just naturally funny Jews. It's literally in our DNA. So, Elissa, what's our case today?
Well, today I found something that I don't really know if it qualifies as a cold case because there doesn't seem to be much of any criminal instances here. However, there is still quite a bit of toxic masculinity.
Okay.
So I figured might as well bring it up. But again, if we want to avoid toxic masculinity, we'll just have to move to Thermopylae, although the tickets to get there are just exorbitant.
Thermopylae. That's
Yeah.
one I'm not familiar with Thermopylae.
Oh, really? Well, it's an island of women only, the Amazons.
That's like Lesbos.
Yes, yeah,
Wow.
but
It's the Amazonian
the women don't age
Lesbos.
there.
Yeah. I'll take a
Yeah,
ticket.
they have better skincare.
I will take a ticket.
Yeah,
First class, please.
first class all the way.
Because I'm not gonna
first class
one
to get
way.
there. They have great skincare. I mean, it's just amazing. Great skincare, great healthcare, the whole thing.
I'm not coming back.
No, I mean, why would you? It's universal healthcare. Why would you want
Exactly.
to come back?
Well, and
Yeah.
that you don't age, so
Yeah,
what's
wonderful.
what's to complain about? All right,
I can't think of a single thing.
lay it on me.
So this case today, like I said, not really a cold case because there's no criminal issues here, but there is a lot of just questionable actions, I guess you could say. And it was enough that it did at least make the news. So I found it and I thought, why not bring it up? It's something a little bit more lighthearted today.
Okay, but timely because we're still dealing with situations of toxic masculinity. So let's
As I think we always will.
yeah, it's not going away.
Yeah, which is why why you drink and why I have cut out my own heart.
Yeah, exactly. It's imperative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is just it's it's just so we can get through the day.
And I'm drinking a
And
red fruity drink today too. So
Oh,
Yeah.
how is that?
it's very good. It's like a red fruity cocktail. Yeah,
Oh, wonderful. Nice.
quite
Well,
yummy.
I'm not, but like I said, I
You
did
have no
excel in
heart.
law school, so I do. I have no heart, and so I actually have a lot fewer gray hairs. It's quite nice.
Well, as you can see, luckily no one else can. I have a lot of gray hairs. So, yeah. All right.
Yeah. All right. So this one starts off, it's again fairly old, and we start off right off the bat with some toxic masculinity. There's this man and he's not the wealthiest, but I'd say maybe middle class, wealthy enough to get around town and have at least some type of audience or in some type of social setting with the local ruler,
And
local government ruler.
what time period are we talking? A government ruler, I mean, 50 years, 75 years, 100?
This one looks about 200, so
Oh, wow. Okay.
a little newer than some of the cases we've looked at in the past, but still some time ago.
Okay. All right.
So this merchant, I guess you could call him. I think again, I'd say middle class, easy, mid to upper middle class, is chatting along with the local ruler. Let's call him a king, and mentions that his young unmarried daughter can spin straw into gold. I mean, I guess he's just trying to flex. I don't know if there was drinking involved, but obviously, this is
That's
physically
yeah,
impossible.
yeah. So there's, I mean, right away, there's at least, I mean, if we're talking from a business law standpoint, which I'm quite familiar with, I mean, that's already a statute of frauds right there. So, I mean, this
Yeah,
might be a
false
civil case.
advertisement.
Yeah, this might be a civil case.
Yes, yeah, so a good tort attorney
Yeah,
would be someone.
yeah,
Yeah, plaintiff's attorney, different torts.
yeah,
Great, great. I know some great ones out there. Unfortunately, they weren't alive 200 years ago,
yeah.
but if that were to happen today, they'd have some great work.
Yeah, and what people may not even know, I don't think I've mentioned, is that I actually teach business law. So this one I think is right up my alley.
Oh, this would be perfect for you. That you could use this in a hypo in your
I
class.
think I should. I think I should.
Mhm. And just because it's an old case doesn't mean it's not still relevant.
It's relevant. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got this unbelievable situation going on. There must be drinking involved.
There must be, or some type of drug use or something, because who would make this claim? And then who would actually believe this claim?
Wait, he believed it?
He did. Yeah. I
That's
I'm
ludicrous.
very
That's
it
that's
it it really is. I'm completely surprised. At first I thought this was a joke. I thought maybe the thing I'm reading was that Times version of The Onion or some other type of
yeah.
joke publication, but no, I kept reading and I kept digging and I found some more information, and it does not look like it was a joke.
Interesting.
So yeah, it truly looks like this king legitimately believed this man's claim that his daughter could spin straw into gold. I mean, I don't know if maybe there just was a lack of physics education in that time. That's the only thing I could think of.
Well, I mean, and if she could do that, why would he bother telling anyone? Because he would just have her create all the gold he needs, and he would have
Right.
been wealthy.
Mhm. Right. Why would he be middle class at that
Right,
point working as a merchant if his daughter could just make money?
right. So yeah, that's we're eas and counterfeit.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, now
Yeah.
there might be some counterfeit laws being broken there.
Well, so his claim was that she could spin it to gold, not to money. So she could sell that gold. And I don't know if that gold would be counterfeit or if that gold was actually real gold.
Could have been
So
fool's
I don't
gold.
think it could have been. So I mean, that would still be fraud, but I don't
Yeah.
think that there wouldn't be any type of currency issues since currency isn't involved until there's a sale.
True, true. Okay, so tell me more. Did what happened? Was there a sale? Did he sell
No, there
the
wasn't a sale.
okay. I was gonna say,
No,
did he
thankfully
sell
there
the the spinning wheel?
it wasn't about a spinning wheel, it was about his daughter. So thankfully no sale, thankfully.
Okay.
That would be a whole different issue, criminal issue, if there was a sale involved. But this king did believe the merchant. So the king then told the merchant to bring his daughter to I, the king's home so that the king can meet her. Because obviously, if there's this person who can create gold, why wouldn't that be a great contact to have?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So in that case, the merchant decided, he's already in deep. Might as well just keep it going, double down. And he did bring his daughter and then left her there. And the king, wanting to take advantage of this person who he believed could create gold, put her in a room with a spindle and a whole bunch of straw and said, "You've got all night, spin this straw into gold, or you're going to be punished." Again, with that
Well,
toxic masculinity.
yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
do
And
see
the
the
power
what
dynamics, very improper here.
yeah, and it is a borderline, it's coercion. I mean,
Mhm.
there's coercion involved, there's, I mean, false imprisonment perhaps. So there could actually have been some sort of crime.
Although there was never a charge of false imprisonment.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, maybe there were no false imprisonment laws 200 years ago, so that could be.
True, true. Although I also think the perpetrator here, the ruler, would be a very difficult defendant to prosecute.
No, okay, maybe 200 years ago, because I know now we're in the midst of prosecuting, a former king. I mean, president.
It's but it is taking a long time, unfortunately.
Yeah, true, very true.
Yeah. I've
Fair
had to
enough.
go through a lot of popcorn waiting each time some news cycle comes out and I think, "Oh, here we go." Didn't happen.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
disappointing.
fair enough. So the king, yeah, would have
Yeah,
probably had ultimate, control over laws.
yeah. And kind of hard to prove false imprisonment in this case since she's in a room, but is she free to go? I would say no, she's not free to go, but how would a prosecutor prove that?
Yeah, so
At
it's
least in her case.
yeah, so at this point, it could be maybe even an employment issue, an employment
Although she's not
violation.
an employee. She's not an employee.
Yeah,
She
true,
would be a
true.
contractor.
Yeah,
So, granted, while contractors do have fewer rights than employees, there are still some rights that she would have.
sure. Interesting.
Although I'm not an employment attorney, so I would have to consult on this for more information.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
it sounds like there are some issues there that are definitely questionable.
yeah. Now, unfortunately, again, this poor girl, she had no knowledge of what her father, in whatever drunken stupor he was in, promised that she could spin straw into gold. So she's stuck in this room. She's being threatened by a ruler with a lot more power than she has. So there's already this uneven power dynamic.
Right.
She really is a victim in this. And she's stuck in this room. And what is she going to do? Obviously, she understands physics and she understands that you can't spin straw into gold. They're two very different compounds. It's impossible. So what is she gonna do? She's hopeless and she starts to cry, and I don't blame her for
Yeah,
that.
right. Wow.
Right.
I mean,
Now,
I'd be
luckily,
just in a corner, curled up in a ball crying. I mean, how am I gonna get out of this
yeah,
situation? Yeah,
right, it's terrifying, and to think that your own father put you in this just because
I
he
can't
wanted
imagine.
to he was drunk and he just wanted to one up somebody,
I mean,
very, very unfortunate.
I've seen television shows like that, but, I have not experienced in my own family, so I have really no frame of reference. It's crazy.
Right. It's too bad this isn't fiction because this is just so awful.
Yeah, it seems like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what happens to
Really
her?
terrible. Well, she's crying, and then thankfully, some random person comes into the room. It was this man described it was a man and described as very small in stature. I don't know if he was just short, if there was maybe a medical issue. It just says small in stature, but the fact that he was described that way, I think, at least, is very instructive of his appearance and is very important.
Interesting.
So
So
he
I so
comes
he
in.
and
Mhm.
he works at I'm assuming he works, for the royal family. There's, something I mean, he's supposed to be there.
No, no,
Oh,
he doesn't. Initially, I thought that was the case, that this man who was small in stature came in maybe to check on her,
right.
but as I continued reading, I found out that no, he was not a palace employee. It's very interesting, very curious how he
How he
was able
how
to
he
get
get
in.
in? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if maybe they were just lacking in security, or maybe he was just a really good con man, who knows?
Huh. That's
Yeah,
wild.
so curious.
Yeah. I mean, hey, listen, I remember, years back, a man did get into the palace and was sitting and talking to the late, Queen Elizabeth. So, I mean, it's not out of and that's with electronics and cameras and, all those things. So it's not out of the realm, get it? Realm of possibility that, he could get in.
Wild, absolutely wild. But the story does get even more wild, even crazier. Apparently, this man was, he came in and he told this girl that he could help her. He asked her why she was crying, and she told him that she needed to spin all of the straw in the room into gold. And he told her that he could do it. I don't know how. I don't
Wait,
know if he was able to suspend physics. I know it's
this is a
you
con.
would think that this would you would think this is fiction. You
Yeah,
would think,
and this
but
is a con too.
it must
He
it
can't be
must have been.
serious.
He was. This was all in the news. And again, I at first I thought I was reading like the Onion or TMZ or something,
Right.
but I kept reading. I did. So apparently, this man came in, asked her what the problem was. She told him that she needed to spin all of the straw into gold. And in exchange for him providing that service, she gave him a necklace. Just a necklace. It's crazy.
Where did she get this
And
necklace?
maybe it was her necklace. I mean, I assume that she was wearing it since she had to make payment at the time of the
And
transaction.
randomly gives okay, all right.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah. And but luckily for her, he was able to actually do what he promised to do. It wasn't a con. Again, I don't know how. I really would like to maybe talk to a scientist or a physicist and just figure out how this could
He
happen
brought in the
because
gold
I
with
don't.
him. No, no,
He
no,
must
no. He
have. I
had
mean,
to. It was in his
I'm
pockets.
but it's in an entire room of straw.
Oh,
And if he's a small man, how could he carry that much gold?
fair enough. Huh.
Yeah. Oh, actually, you know what? Not physics. It would be chemistry, wouldn't it? Because you're changing the
Yeah,
chemical composition from straw into gold.
yeah. It's more a chemistry issue.
Wow.
And neither one of us are
Yeah.
chemists, so,
Yeah.
you know.
So I have absolutely no idea how that
No,
could happen,
I was
but
never good in science. So, yeah.
maybe he found out. I don't
Wow.
know. Yeah, crazy. So he was able to do it, and the next morning when this king came in to see her progress, he came in and he found a room full of gold. No more straw, and it was all gold. It's crazy. Absolutely astounding.
No, is the guy still there?
No, he's gone. He left. He finished. He worked through the night, and then he took his necklace and left.
And he did all of this for a necklace.
Absolutely wild.
I
I
mean, if he
mean,
could
I
make
love that
gold,
he
make a
did the
necklace.
service.
What? No, that no.
I
Who does that? Who
apparently he does.
I don't know.
I know. I'm very suspect already.
I am
Very
very
suspicious of
skeptical. Yeah,
this.
very skeptical. This is very
Mhm.
sus.
It really is. It took me a long time and a lot of digging to finally realize that this wasn't some type of con or joke or something because I was very, very curious, just very skeptical.
And does she play it off to the king that she's done this?
She does. I mean, again, I don't really blame her.
No,
She's
no.
put in this room. Her father's doubled down and forced her to do this. She's put in this room and then threatened. And so, what else is she going to do?
Well, and it makes you wonder. I mean, was the father still drunk? What happened when he sobered up and he realized that he had left his daughter in the king's home and she can't do this thing that he's asked her to do or purported that she could do? I mean, what is his reaction? What happens to him?
Nothing happens to him. Again, just with that toxic masculinity, nothing happens to him.
Well, no, because obviously the gold was produced, but I mean, their relationship must have been fractured at the very least.
Oh, oh, I would assume yes. I mean, I know if any family member ever did that to me, lied about a service that I could provide, which I obviously could not,
Well,
and
your
then
mom told me
expected
you
me
were a
to
lawyer.
provide.
Your mom told me you were a lawyer, and I think, that may be a lie. I'm not really sure.
Well, no, it's not quite a lie because she never said I was a good lawyer.
Oh, that's right. That is true.
Mhm,
Good
mhm.
point.
Yeah, although, I mean, what is good? Is good really how are we gonna define
That's
that?
it's very subjective. Good
Mhm.
is
So
yeah.
maybe I am a good lawyer since we can discuss the differences and what the term good actually means.
Yeah. Well, and you have the terminology down, so at least you passed your
Mm,
courses
I did, yes. I did actually graduate magna cum laude, so I was able to fool at least a few people.
from Corinthian College? What?
ITT Tech.
ITT Tech. Okay, I knew it had to be one of
Mhm.
those 2. Yeah.
Yeah,
ITT,
yeah.
Tech, Law. Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Online.
Online. Yeah.
Yeah,
Magna cum
even
laude.
better.
Wow.
Mhm.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That's wild. Did you get to walk, across like a Zoom or something and give a speech?
Oh, no, Zoom is too fancy.
Oh, okay. All right. They didn't have that then.
No, no, it was an AOL chat room.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember those. Yep. Okay.
Mhm.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So, okay. So let me get this straight. So there's obviously a fractured relationship. I'm assuming the king lets her go back home.
No,
I
because
knew it.
he sees all this
Greed.
gold.
Greed.
Mhm. Greed. We're way back to the 1980s, greed is good. He sees that
Wow.
gold and he thinks, "Let's get some more."
Wow. Greed is good.
Mhm.
Yep. I knew it. I
Yeah.
knew he was not going to let her go.
I wonder if he was related to King Midas.
Ooh,
They seem to have a lot in common, so I wonder if they were family members.
that's interesting.
Yeah. You do a lot of DNA research. Do you
I,
think that
you
could
know,
be something that you could look into? Because that would
I
be
am
a really, really good project.
I am gonna go on Ancestry when we get done talking. I think I'm gonna go on Ancestry and see if I can't dig some of this stuff up.
Oh, wonderful. That would be so great to know.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so he how
Mhm.
long does he keep her there doing this?
Well, he takes her to a room, a bigger room with more straw, and he says, "Here you go. You have all night to spin this straw into gold, and if you don't, then you'll be punished."
This there's okay, at this point now, we're definitely crossing over to false imprisonment. Come on. Come on. I mean,
Yeah.
there's gotta be something. I mean, I get it. I get it. Throughout time, women have been property. I get it. But even still, she would have been her father's property.
Right, because she was unmarried. Although, if he's the king, he would have dominion over everyone within his area of control, which included that merchant and his daughter.
Wow.
Yeah,
I
very
just can't
unfair.
I mean, we think we have it bad. It's
Mhm.
that's just unbelievable.
It's really awful. And this poor woman.
Well, how do we know how old she was? Do the records say?
No, they don't. They just describe her as a young unmarried woman.
So
So
she could
I,
be
I
like
think that
15 or 16, in those days.
yeah,
A
yeah,
spinster.
it's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't know. I do know that she was at least a teenager because the fact that they describe her as unmarried
Yeah, so she's at least
indicates that she
15.
was at least a marriageable age
Yeah.
yes, for that time. For us,
Puberty. Yeah.
marriageable age would be 20 or 30.
Right.
But at that point, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because as we all know, 30 is the new 20 and 40 is the new 30.
Right. And 60's the new 50.
40.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay, good. Thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, so I she's at a loss. She's have they fed her? First of all, have they at least provided food and water and
Yes, yes, yes.
okay.
There isn't a lot of information in there confirming that she's been fed and bathed and that she had a place to stay, but
But there's no
there didn't
cruelty.
appear to be right, there's no cruelty. There didn't
Okay.
appear to be any reports on any kind and anything that I was able to find that indicated that she was ever kept, imprisoned or in some type of cell, or that she wasn't allowed
Oh.
to at least walk around and change and have new clothes and eat.
See now, even if there were some type of false imprisonment law,
Mhm.
he knew how to get around it because he never said to her she couldn't go. He just said
Mm.
if she did, there would be repercussions and
Yes.
punishments. So she could
Mhm.
have so I'm thinking now it wouldn't pass the test. But, 200 years ago, technically, it wasn't false
It
imprisonment.
wasn't. Right. I think today it would be because she's
Yes.
still not actually free to go since she is being kept there due to repercussions. She's being kept
Threats.
there,
Yeah, absolutely.
right, by threat. So it's not really voluntary or consensual.
Right. Oh, by today's
Yeah.
standards, that's definitely false
Yeah.
imprisonment, but yeah,
Oh,
200 years ago
completely.
and especially she's a woman.
Mhm.
She's a woman.
Right.
He's a male. There's
Mhm.
definitely, skirting the edge, but yeah. Okay.
And he's a ruler, so there's that again, that massive power imbalance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Just really awful. I mean, maybe not as awful as some of the other cold cases we've looked at, but still, just really, really awful.
Still questionable. I mean, just still
Very.
when you look back at these old cold cases, you have to remember that it was a period in time where, things were different. But and we have to accept that, but that doesn't mean it was right, It was
Hmm.
wrong. It's wrong now, it was wrong then. Laws were just different.
Yeah. And I am very thankful that at least some laws have changed. Maybe not all of them, maybe
Yeah,
not the ones that we want to change, but at
it's a
least some have
process.
changed.
Yeah.
It's a process, yeah. Yeah. So looking at these historical cases is just a good way for us to look at the past and see how far we've come and then see how much more we need to change.
Agreed, absolutely. Did she stay the second night? And
She did. She stayed the second night because again, I don't
interesting.
think she could have left. She wasn't physically held, but she was there under threat, so she couldn't
Sure.
leave. So again, she's very scared. She's now in a much larger room. She's already had one night there where the straw was spun into gold, and she knows she didn't do it, so she's of course terrified.
Right.
So she starts to cry again. I mean, under all this pressure, sometimes you just need to release all that stress.
Well, and the guy this mystery guy shows up this one time, and it's not like he's gonna come back. He's done her a favor.
He he did come back.
Are you kidding? You
No, he came back.
that I okay, wait a minute. What does
I
she
know
have
you're
anything?
speechless.
I don't know what to say. He comes back. This mystery man comes back. Okay. Does he want more payment? What does she got to give him
He
this
does.
time?
This time she gives him a ring. It was the only ring on her finger. She gave it to him.
But not a wedding ring.
No, it was not a wedding ring.
Interesting. Okay. And
Yeah.
so
Just
so
just a piece of jewelry,
right.
probably one of the few pieces that she had. She was wearing it at the time, so
Sure.
she was able to give it to him to make payment for services rendered.
Wow. And eh, I'm speechless. He's able to do this larger room of gold,
He is. Yep. The next morning, the king comes in and the room is filled with gold. There's no more straw. And he, of course, he is just over the moon excited and still very greedy.
of course. And he's
Of
not
course.
gonna tell anybody. He's still gonna collect taxes from everybody too, when that money could have helped the community.
Oh, yes. Of course.
None of it. I'm guessing none of this went to the community, which is probably why the story was written in the papers to begin with.
Probably.
Crazy.
Hmm.
So
Wild.
yeah,
Not unexpected, but still wild.
no, and greed is one of those ugly truths in life where the more you get, the more you want. So I'm
Hmm.
assuming he did not let her go.
He didn't. He put her in another room, larger again than even the second room. And this time, he told her that if she could fill the room with gold this last time, and it was the last time, he did confirm this was the last time, but if she could fill the room, he would marry her. Now, I'm sitting here thinking,
Stockholm
who
syndrome?
right?
Come
Who in their
on.
right mind would want to marry this person who has kept me prisoner for 2 days, forced me to do something because my father, in a drunken fit, decided to try to one up everybody and impress the local ruler, maybe to get some more contracts. And what? I mean, that's not exactly a reward.
Oh, and it's not exactly romantic either. I mean, okay, so
No.
there are two schools of thought on this, though. There is number one, Stockholm syndrome, which is very, very real. And it makes me think that maybe this case. Do you know where this case happened? Because I'm thinking maybe this was the original Stockholm syndrome. Maybe it was in Stockholm.
It could have been. There isn't a lot of information on, where it is today because, unfortunately, the articles that I was able to find didn't give an exact location. They just gave sort of
Okay.
general regional, but it did look like it was Northern Europe, so it
See, so
easily
yeah.
could have been part of Scandinavia.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it may have been even something like Norway and originally called Oslo syndrome. I don't know. But
Oh, that's a good point, yeah, and
yeah.
then the name just changed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, okay,
Mhm.
so 2 points. So, you know, 2 points for the king. I'm gonna say that number 1, there's probably a bit of Stockholm syndrome going on there because, it's not like she was in chains or anything, and, there were threats, but, we know this happens. And into the second point, this young lady, and we don't really know her name, I'm assuming. She might also have been thinking, well, now this man is so wealthy. I'm really ticked off with my dad, not going home, don't have anywhere to live, might as well stay with this wealthy king and become queen of the country or wherever
Mhm.
they live, their region.
Right, yeah, why not? I mean, of course, I wouldn't wanna go home if my dad did that, just tried to one up and for whatever reason used me as
A bait
a
or
bragging point.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and but, to her credit, um, do you go home to your middle class family that your dad that you're already ticked off with, or do you stay and reap the rewards of what your situation? So yeah, I'm just not, I'm not 100% feeling fault with her for making I'm assuming she did decide to stay.
She did. At least this time, there was still that threat, but at least this time there was,
Money.
I guess, a promise. I mean, marriage to him doesn't exactly sound like a great thing to us today, but you make some really great points. Where else was she
Yeah,
going to go? And he's pretty wealthy, so it's not like she's going to be hungry
and it's not like she's gonna get a better offer at this point.
right at this point. Yeah,
I mean,
because
she's well,
no one else knows that she can't spin straw to gold, but she knows that she can't spin straw to gold.
and there's also the fact that she has now stayed at this man's house for 3 nights in a row. So 200
Hmm.
years ago, I mean, even 100 years ago, what am I talking about? Less than 100 years ago, she would have been perceived as damaged goods.
Right.
She
So what
spent
is she
3
going to do?
nights at this man's house.
Hmm. And in a society like that, where women were supposed to get married and have children, how is she going to do that?
Exactly.
Yeah. So that third night, she did stay, and again was in a large room with so much straw, and was told to spend it to gold. And that mystery man comes back. Thankfully, I think at this point she was she was
Pretty
hoping he was going
sure.
to come back,
Yeah.
and she wouldn't have been as surprised because the second night, crazy. The first night, what is even going on? Right.
Right.
At least now at this point, I don't think she's not as surprised. At least I wouldn't have been.
Yeah. No, I agree. I wouldn't have been either. But what does
Yeah.
she give him?
Now
What does she
this
pay him with?
Well, she didn't have anything left. She
Right.
she had already given him her necklace and her ring. It's not like she had a lot of jewelry. So at this point, he tells her that, "All right, if you get married and become queen and you have a kid, I would like your first child." Mhm.
No.
Although I think she's living in the moment at this point because who knows what's going to happen? Who knows if she's going to actually get married to this king? Who knows if she's actually going to have children? No one knows. All she knows at this point is that she needs to get out of this room tonight.
Well, and
So she agrees.
the king is powerful too, so, I mean, he could
Mhm.
protect her, and the king is not gonna let his child be taken away, number 1, but this has shades of that other story we talked about where the parents gave away their child be for the vegetables?
You're right. I
Is
wonder
this
if
a
there was an
thing?
ongoing I mean, thankfully, we don't see that today where children will or where parents will give up their children for vegetables
Yeah, or
or
for
for
straw spun into gold, you know.
right, for impossible chemical reactions in chemistry or physics. Yeah, it
And
just absolutely impossible.
here's another point. Why didn't she at this point go to the king and say, "Well, I lost my ability to do this, so I can't do it tonight, but, hey, I still wanna get married. Uh, what should we do?"
I
Not
mean, he did tell her that he'd punish her, and she'd already been threatened 2 nights prior.
yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't
Something's
know. It
rotten in
just
Denmark there. Yeah, or
oh, I wonder maybe
Sweden.
this was in Denmark.
Oh,
Hmm.
that's where that could have come from. I get, Shakes well, it originally came from Shakespeare, but,
Mhm.
there could be more to it, I
Right.
don't know.
Right. Now, great, and he was. I mean, he was just writing down what he saw in his day, and he was reporting
Right,
the news, just very, very accurately reporting the news.
right.
So maybe there was something going on up in that Northern European area.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the Vikings,
If he's
they're
reporting,
different, so
I mean, if he's reporting some rotten things in Denmark,
yeah,
whew,
yeah,
yeah,
it's a thing.
hmm yeah, terrible.
So she agrees to it?
She does. She agrees to it,
Wow,
and
wow.
he spends everything into gold, and there you go. 3 large rooms now just filled with gold.
Who is this dude?
It was a mystery. It was a big mystery.
Did the papers ever mention him? What well, he had to have
They
come
did.
back. She had a baby, didn't she?
She did.
I
And this is
knew
this
it!
is what
I
this
knew
is
it.
what took me so long to find, because these reports were scattered all over. Some occurred right when the event happened, and then some were later on. It took quite a bit of digging. It really did. But needless to say, after that third night when the door opened and there was a room full of gold, the king married her, and he thought, this is great, we've got all this gold now, I have this woman who can spin straw to gold, wonderful. So they get married, and a year later she has a kid.
Wow.
Yeah. And this man, just like he
He
said he
showed up,
would,
didn't he?
he he showed up, he came to collect. And it seems like, I mean, at least I'm hoping that this young woman was at least somewhat happy, because there's a report that she forgot he was even coming. So hopefully she forgot
Oh.
because he was happy, because she was happy, but who
Yeah,
knows?
yeah, it does seem like, maybe that Stockholm syndrome did kick in and maybe,
Or
again,
maybe she was just a realist and she realized this
yeah.
is a much better situation. Here we go.
Well, and, and again, not to be crass, but, it's a lot better to, marry and be with someone that you don't particularly care for if they're very, very wealthy, than it is if they're not. So, I mean, the girl had some peace of mind there at least. She could say, "Oh, honey, I'm gonna go to the spa," and, if, "I've got a headache tonight," or, put it off as much as possible. Uh
Mhm.
I'm not saying that he wasn't, a very nice man at the end or good looking, but she probably, like you said, it was very much a realist and money can do a lot. So, yeah.
Especially at that point in life, at that point in history,
Yeah,
when a woman's really her only way to get by was to make sure that she married someone who could financially support her.
right. And she hit the jackpot.
Since yeah, since women weren't able to work. Not that
Right.
they couldn't, just, when society won't let you, it's kind
Right.
of hard.
Right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So
So
she
he
gives
comes back. Well, no, she doesn't.
Wow.
This is her first child. She's she's crying. She's
Yeah.
terrified. This is her first child. She loves this child. And
Right.
I don't know if she loves her husband, but at least this is her child.
Right.
So this man, he doesn't seem like the worst guy. Very questionable for wanting a child,
Yeah, that's
but
weird.
very weird. But based on some of the things that we've read, I am seeing a pattern. So maybe that was a bit more normalized in that part of the world at that time.
Well, and maybe he
Who
had a
knows?
maybe he had a wife at home too who couldn't have children. So,
Maybe.
yeah.
But if you have a wife and you can't have kids, it's called an adoption agency. Maybe
Yeah.
foster? Maybe foster
Foster.
someone?
Foster.
Yeah.
Yes.
We need more fosters, more
Absolutely.
good, healthy
You can't tell
foster
me that there
families. Yeah.
weren't weren't orphans and children that needed foster care 200 years ago. I mean, there absolutely would have been.
Mhm. So why he couldn't foster, I don't know. But he came for this child and she was distraught. So he told her, "All right, you know what? You have 3 days. If you can guess my name in 3 days, I'll leave you alone."
What?
Very odd. Very
That is
again,
really
I
strange.
legitimately thought I was reading a 200-year-old version of The Onion. I thought, The Onion has been around, it must have been around a lot longer than I thought it was, because
Right,
I
right.
could not believe this was an actual article that was written by a journalist who went out and gathered information, an investigative journalist. It took me a very long time to finally acknowledge that.
Well, Shakespeare did some journalism too. Interestingly enough, I mean, he wrote
Mhm.
fantastic dramas, allegedly, but
Mhm.
he also, from what I remember when I lived in England, he did some journalism himself. I mean, and he wrote comedies as well. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that this was a 200-year-old onion type of publication. Shakespeare had done it long before him.
Mhm. And that's what I thought it was, but there was enough corroboration that I finally had to admit that this was not the Onion.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. Does he and he so he
crazy.
she's freaked out. Does the
Mhm,
king know
mhm.
that she's gonna give away their child?
Yeah, and there's nothing there that tells me that he tried to stop it. I don't honestly, I don't know if he could. It was an agreement that she made, so I don't know if he could stop it.
Wow.
So
I'm just
she
blown
sends
away.
out all these couriers to do some research and try to find all of the different names that they can find. And she starts thinking up all of the different names that she can think of. And this man comes back, and the first day, she just starts spouting out as many names as she can. And none of them belong to him. So he tells her that he'll be back the next day, but none of those names were his name. And he leaves.
With a child.
No, 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 no. She had 3 days. This was just the first day.
Oh,
But
okay.
the first day didn't go that well because she couldn't guess his name. And none of the names that she could think of or that she could find on her own were his name.
Wow, so he wasn't from that town.
No, he wasn't. At least as it turned out to be, he was not. So
Huh.
then the next day, some couriers come back and they provide some names that they found, they researched, and she presents all of those names to him, but none of those names are his name either. And she is just at this point she's only got 1 day left, so of course she's very nervous.
I would think so.
Hmm.
Wow.
Now, for the third day, one of the couriers comes back and says that he couldn't find any new names, but just completely randomly on his way back, he passed this little area, or it was as described in the paper. It was a little knoll where the hare and the fox say goodnight to each other. I don't really know what that means. I wonder if that was a local colloquialism,
Like, what does the
but that's
fox
how
say?
it
Eek,
was
eek,
described.
eek, eek, eek.
Maybe the journalist really wanted to be a songwriter.
Maybe. Wow. Okay. All right.
Yeah. And so this courier says that he overheard this, that he saw a tiny man dancing around, and he overheard this man singing. And it was just the weirdest thing because this man is singing about making bread and collecting a child, and that his name is Rumpelstiltskin and no one will know it. So that
What?
night,
What a
mhm,
weird
very,
name.
very, very weird. I have to think.
Was still wait.
parents who would have named him, why would they have named him that? You've got to think he must have been teased in school.
Oh, for sure, but was Stiltskin his last name? And his first
I
name
think
was
it was his
Rumple?
first his full name.
Huh. Oh,
And
yeah. With that his
which
well,
isn't surprising since, right, because you'll have your first name and then of whatever
sure.
town you're
Oh,
from.
true.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
lot of people just use patronymics, but,
Mhm.
eh, so he's short in stature, he's
Mhm.
got this very odd name,
Mhm.
definitely somebody that has been, psychologically traumatized, in his youth, so, yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised that he was singing to himself in the forest.
Yeah. So, this kind of reminds me of that song Boy Named Sue. I wonder if that's where Johnny Cash got the idea
The
from.
idea. Interesting.
Yeah, maybe.
You never know.
Mhm.
So does he go does the I guess she's now a queen. Does the queen's, estuary go and tell her what he's heard?
He does. Yes. Yes. So when this man comes for the third day to speak with the queen and see if she's found his name, she starts giving him just very normal, very boring names like Dan and Pat and
Ugh,
Nate and Matt. Yeah, just very,
right.
very normal, common, not
Maybe
very,
some
not
names
exactly
like
the most imaginative
Hendrik.
names, just
Oh,
very common.
yeah, yeah.
And he keeps saying, "Nope, none of those are my name." And then she says, "Well, is your name Rumpelstiltskin?"
Ooh, nailed him!
Mhm. Talk about cold shoulder. That is some massive side eye if there ever was.
That is some shade she threw right back at him. Brilliant.
Ugh. Oh, I would have paid to see that. That would have been beautiful.
Absolutely,
Absolutely beautiful. And
that is
he
yeah.
was so upset, so upset that he stomped his right foot so hard it went all the way through the floor, and the floor came up to his knee.
Wow, that's pretty poor
Yeah.
craftsmanship for the king's house to begin
Mhm.
with, but I mean,
I know, it's terrible. I mean, terrible flooring. I mean, to
oh,
have
she must have been
just
laughing.
awful.
She must have been laughing.
Oh, he was still so upset that he stomped his other foot, and then he was so angry that he tore that foot, and he actually tore himself in half.
Whoa, whoa,
Very
whoa,
gruesome.
whoa,
Very I
what?
know, it got very dark very quickly.
That went into a bad place very quick.
Very quick. Yeah. We're just going along, and then American Horror Story.
Yeah. Holy crap.
Mm.
Wow, I I was not
You were
expecting
not
that at
expecting that.
all.
I was not expecting that either,
No.
and I am so glad that none of the papers that I read had any pictures.
No
So glad,
kidding,
because
no
that would
kidding.
have just
I don't
been
wanna see a picture of that.
awful.
Yeah.
No, awful, terrible.
I mean, some of the crimes we've talked about have been ones that yeah, I really don't wanna see a picture of, but this one, that's way too gory for me. I don't do slasher films
Right.
or any of those things,
No,
I can't.
nightmares. Just give you
Yes.
nightmares.
Yes. Wow.
Ugh,
So
awful.
oh, wow. So, and I I I mean, where did this guy come from?
I don't know, and since he died, no one could interview him.
Crazy. So did the queen and the king at this point with their child, and I'm assuming they probably had more children as well.
Mhm.
Did they live happily ever after at this point?
I think they did. It appears they did. There's no other
Wow.
articles about them or anything negative, I guess, about them
Nothing
after
negative.
this.
Wow.
No. Yeah. Yeah.
That
I
is
mean, there,
that
there were a couple articles in some gossip magazines that I was able to find from back then, but nothing negative.
you can't really believe some of the goss. You just can't,
Right.
you know?
I mean, I didn't believe this initially. It took a lot of digging to
True.
find information corroborating this. Yeah.
That's wild. I This has been a fascinating story. I mean, You're right. I mean, I can see where I mean, there were potential crimes, but nothing really crossed that line.
Mhm. Definitely some civil issues, I
Oh, yeah,
think,
for
for
sure, for
sure.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
But wow, and then the con man, and we have no idea how he pulled off that trick either, but
we don't.
he's deceased and
Mhm.
just they live happily ever after.
Yeah,
Wild.
absolutely wild.
Well, this was an interesting case. I mean,
Uh, that's why I wanted to bring this one to you because even though it really doesn't deal in a lot of criminal issues like we usually look for in cold cases, it was just so wild.
well, yeah, and I mean, I think the only reason it didn't is because this perpetrator died. So, I mean,
Mhm.
it's in a horrific way, so I could see where it would have, really hit all of the papers of the time. And the town criers, I mean, they probably were
Mhm.
crying all night with this. Strange,
I mean, there was a lot to
strange.
cry about.
You know, I I'm throwing this out there. Truth is stranger than fiction.
It's true. It really is.
Wow,
Here we go. We have another example.
another example.
Mhm.
Well, thanks for sharing this one with me.
Wild.
That is crazy. What a crazy, crazy story. That's I
Just
can't
absolutely crazy.
I
I'm still a little surprised
yeah.
when I go back and I look through some of the articles that I found. I am still sometimes taken aback.
Yeah. No, no. I don't blame you. Oh, wow. Well, I can't wait to find out what you've got for me next week. I love like being surprised because you never fail to just amaze me with these cases that you find. It's crazy.
Well, I am amazing.
Well, I don't know. You're from the other side of the family, so I don't know about that. But
We try.
your side of the family put an e on the end of their last name, so
Mm.
I don't know what to tell you. You know.
That E really makes a difference.
I guess. I don't know. Well, all right. Thank you so much. Thank you to our listeners, and I hope you enjoyed this crime. Or actually, this wasn't even a crime, really, at the end of the day, but this crazy story that really does sound like it came out of the onion. I blown away, blown away.
Just blown away.
Well, I'll see you next week, and thanks for taking some time to share this story with me.
Always. I love it.
It's
I love researching these.
You are the penultimate researcher. This is amazing. I can't wait till next week. I just can't.
Yep.
I'm
I'm excited.
verklempt again.
And I just feel like I can just tell you anything and you'll believe anything I say.
Well, I mean, I'm not that gullible, but you've brought in some proof, and I do require proof to these stories. But you've brought in all the proof. You've brought the
Mhm.
receipts. You know?
I did. No, and I told you. And of course I wouldn't lie about it.
No, 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 no. We don't
No.
lie. Or
Yeah.
it's not
No.
in our family nature. It's not.
No.
So I mean,
Yeah. And so and
the
this is
lawyers
all.
don't lie.
No, never.
Yeah,
Yeah.
crazy. All right. Thanks again, and thanks. I hope our listeners enjoyed this crazy tale of toxic masculinity and weirdness. And wow, we'll see you next week, and I'll see you next week.
Yeah. See you soon.
All right, we'll chat later.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.